There's a truth people don't often say out loud. When you start to change, the world around you begins to shift as well. At first, everything may seem the same. You're still you, still surrounded by the same relationships, still having the same familiar conversations. But as you quietly grow, becoming more disciplined, more clear about your goals, and more confident in your own worth, a subtle transformation begins to take place. People start to see you differently. It's not because you're trying to stand out, but because your energy has changed. The way you think, the way you respond, the standards you set for your life, all of it evolves. And that forces the people around you to react. Some will admire you, some will feel inspired, but there will also be those who feel disconnected because they no longer see themselves on the same wavelength as you. This kind of change doesn't happen loudly. It's quiet and almost unnoticeable at first. It shows up in small ways. Pauses in conversations, fewer interactions, or a sense of distance you can't quite explain. And that's the first sign. When you've changed enough, the world around you won't stay the same anymore. As you begin to move forward in life, there's a difficult truth to accept. Not everyone will genuinely be happy for you. People who once stood by your side when things were simple may slowly start to change. They may no longer respond with the same enthusiasm, stop checking in on you, or grow distant in ways that feel subtle but noticeable. Sometimes their silence says more than words ever could. This shift isn't always obvious. No one will openly admit that they're uncomfortable with your growth, but you can feel it in the small details. Indifference, subtle remarks that downplay your progress, or a lack of interest when you share your achievements. Some may even begin to pull away, as if your progress has quietly created an invisible line between you and them. The truth is, when you change, you disrupt the old balance within your relationships. Not everyone is ready to adjust to the person you're becoming, and instead of growing alongside you, some choose to step back, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your growth challenges what they were once comfortable with. When you start noticing a shift in how others treat you, it's easy to fall into the thought, did I do something wrong? You might blame yourself for changing, for no longer being who you used to be, or for unintentionally making someone uncomfortable. But the truth is, your growth is not a mistake. It's something natural and necessary. You are not responsible for staying the same just to keep others comfortable. Becoming more mature, setting higher standards for yourself, or walking away from habits that no longer serve you are not things you need to apologize for. They are signs that you're moving forward. Other people's discomfort often doesn't come from you doing something wrong, but from the fact that they're no longer familiar with who you've become. They understood you in a certain way before, and now they're faced with a version of you they may not be ready to accept. That can trigger negative reactions, but that's their experience to process, not yours. You're not wrong for growing. You're simply becoming a better version of yourself. Behind the shift in how people treat you, there's often a factor that few are willing to admit: jealousy. It doesn't always look obvious or as negative as you might imagine. Sometimes, it's simply a quiet discomfort when they see you achieving something they haven't. As you move forward, you unintentionally become a mirror, reflecting back the things they've been postponing, missing, or not yet brave enough to pursue. Comparison starts to creep in naturally. They look at you and wonder why you can do it while they can't. And instead of turning that feeling into motivation, some people respond by pulling back, creating distance, or even downplaying your success just to feel better about themselves. What's important to understand is this: their jealousy isn't really about you. It reflects how they see themselves far more than how they see you. You simply represent what's possible. And for some people, that doesn't inspire them, it pressures them. Not everyone knows how to face that kind of pressure in a healthy way. When everything is at a normal, comfortable level, relationships often seem stable. People support each other easily, conversations flow naturally, and there's little visible conflict. But the moment you start to grow or achieve more, something shifts. Success acts like an invisible test. It doesn't change who people are. It reveals who they've always been. Those who are genuine won't feel threatened by your progress. Instead, they'll feel happy for you, proud of you, and continue standing by your side just as before. They don't see your success as competition, but as inspiration. But for others, your growth can create discomfort. They may become distant, colder, or no longer support you in the same sincere way. This is where clarity begins. You start to see who is truly aligned to walk with you long term. There's no need to test anyone or force people to change. Just keep moving forward, and over time, every relationship will naturally reveal its true nature. When you start to notice a shift in how others treat you, the natural reaction is to explain, clarify, or even prove that you haven't changed in a negative way. You want them to understand you, to acknowledge you, or to go back to how things used to be. But the truth is, the more you try to prove yourself, the more you place yourself in a weaker position, the position of someone seeking approval. Not everyone is willing to understand you, and not everyone needs to. Constantly explaining yourself only drains your energy on people who aren't truly listening. Instead of trying to change how they see you, you can choose to stay silent and keep growing. Consistency in your actions will speak louder and more clearly than any explanation ever could. You don't need to argue, and you don't need to expose anyone. Everyone sees the world through their own lens, and that's not always something you can control. What you can control is how you move forward. And sometimes the strongest move isn't saying more. It's not needing to say anything at all. One of the hardest parts of personal growth is accepting that you won't be able to keep everyone in your life. As you change, some relationships will change too, and not always in the way you hope. There are people who were once close to you, who understood you deeply, but over time begin to feel like strangers. It's not necessarily because anyone did something wrong, but simply because you're no longer moving in the same direction. At first, this can feel uncomfortable, even painful. You may try to hold on, to return to what once felt familiar. But the more you try to preserve it, the more you realize things aren't the same anymore. The connection has shifted, and forcing it to stay alive only drains both sides. Growth isn't just about what you gain, it's also about what you learn to let go of. Not everyone is meant to walk with you through every stage of your life, and that doesn't take away from what you once shared. It simply means that each chapter of your life comes with the people who are right for it. When you start noticing that others are changing the way they see you, the most important thing isn't how you react to them, it's how well you stay grounded within yourself. If you let their opinions, words, or attitudes affect you too much, it becomes easy to fall into self-doubt. You might begin questioning whether you're on the wrong path or whether you should go back to who you used to be just to make things feel easier again. But if you're clear about what you're doing and why you've chosen to change, then you don't need to be shaken by external reactions. Inner stability doesn't come from everyone supporting you. It comes from understanding your own value and staying aligned with it. When you no longer depend on validation, you become much harder to destabilize. People may change, their emotions may fluctuate, but if you remain steady by yourself, you won't be pulled in every direction. And that calm, grounded presence becomes your strength, far more powerful than any explanation you could give. As you continue to grow, one thing becomes increasingly clear. Your circle will naturally become smaller. You no longer connect with as many people as before, and those casual, surface-level relationships, or ones built purely on habit, begin to fade away. Instead, the people who remain are often the ones who truly understand you, respect your journey, and aren't threatened by your growth. At first, this can feel lonely. Fewer people often means fewer interactions, less of that lively, crowded feeling you once had. But over time, you begin to realize that quality matters far more than quantity. A few deep, genuine connections are far more valuable than many shallow ones. You also become more selective. Not out of arrogance, but because you understand where your energy deserves to go. You're no longer quick to invest time in what doesn't align with you. And that level of discernment helps you build a healthier environment around yourself, one where you can continue growing without being pulled backward.